Hi everyone, and welcome to another edition of Homebrew Buffoonery. Okay, so today I'm going to be brewing another brown beer. That's my third in a row. I've got an alt beer, a California Common, which is nearly done, and today I am going to brew a English best bitter, which is section 11B of the BJCP guidelines. I don't think I've anything new to put in today. No, not really. So, let's get straight on with the old stats, because the recipe today is a little bit less grain than normal. The same amount of water, which is 9 litres, but it's a little bit less than normal because I'm just looking at my brewer's friend thing here to get a best bitter sort of level of stats. It doesn't need that much grain, to tell you the truth. So I've only got 900 grams of Maris Otter, and then I've just put in 50 grams of flake wheat because I've got some in the bag over there, and is it 50 grams of my Crystal 250, and I'm bang on style, everything super duper where it should be. I'm going to use the remains of my Munton's GV12 yeast, so I've got about half a packet of that, which should be enough. And I'm only going to use 10 grams of Tettnanger in the boil, because this is just a bitter beer, isn't it, really? So there's very little hot flavour, it says. A little bit of a caramelly kind of flavour, possibly, but I'll speak a little bit more about that once the brew day's proper going. So my stats are, my original gravity is only 1041, which isn't a lot easier, because this is meant to be like a session-y kind of ale, really. Final gravity is 1009 for an ABV of 4.2, which for a session beer, I suppose that's okay. IBU is 27, which for this is towards the lower end, so I could use a little bit more hops maybe, but I'm not going to. And my SRMs are 11, which is more or less bang in the middle of the style. There's somebody at the door. There we go, I'm back, and it's first aid of Symes. Yeah, just helped a friend out who lives across the road, and he's got a big huge cut in his hand. I'll give him some blasters, sent him on his way. So there we go. So anyway, where were we? We were at basically the stats, weren't we? So everything's green. There's me brewer's friend thing. There's me brewer's friend there. You can see everything along here is all green. And is there anything else I need to say about this? I don't think so, really. I did have one mad idea about the hops. I thought maybe I'll do like a tea, because I've not got my hop bag. I thought I'd lost it. Well, I found it, and it was in the greenhouse on the floor, and it was blue with mould. So I can't use that. So what I'm going to use is a sock, and I'm just going to tie it up with something. I don't know what, some thread or something like that, and bung that in, because the mesh is quite fine, really, those socks. And it's a clean sock, I will add, but it is going in the boil. But yeah, I'm going to use a sock because it's giving me this much rubbish at the bottom of after the boil at the bottom of the pan, which I don't want, because I'd like as little as possible so I can siphon as much off as possible. So I think we're all about ready to go. Let's get mashing in. Okay, so here's my grains. Because I've only got just about a kilo there to go in, I only need one bowl, and my starting gravity as well is only my starting pre-boil gravity is only 1028, which isn't very much. So I'm thinking this mash, might not last very long at all. It could go sort of a half an hour job. I'll keep an eye on it with a refractor, but for now let's get the old grains in, because we're at temperature. Okay, so we're all done now, and all I need to do, I'm going to leave it for 15 minutes without touching it, and then I'll put the old Lockline Spargy arm recirculation thingy on go, and we'll see how quickly we get up to the 1029 pre-boil gravity. And as soon as we do that, we'll get a boiling. Okay, so we're about 15 minutes into the mash, and I've got the BJCP guidelines here for British bitters. This is section 11, and basically a family of British brewers grew out of English pale ales at the beginning of the 1800s, and then what they did is they had a little bit of crystal malt to give it a bit of colour. Traditionally they serve them in those. If you're not in the UK and you go to an old English pub, they'll serve them in hand pumped pumps, and so the carbonation can be quite low. But one of the funny things about this is, now it says that the style guidelines shouldn't overemphasize this and it shouldn't overemphasize that. But here are the variations for the bitter. Okay, so it says several different variations exist, ranging from darker, sweeter versions served with nearly no head to brighter, hoppier, paler versions with large foam stands and everything in between. So to me, that covers a huge range of different styles of beer. So I sort of wonder why there's so many categories to the beers. Is the yeast making that much a difference? Is it the complexity of your recipe with the different layerings of crystal malt? Because I've never done that. I've only got 250. But you know, you see recipes with 30 and 60 and 120 and the little bits of everything. And I'm not quite sure. It's really a broad brushstroke for the general style, and it must cover at least half a dozen other different styles. But you know, 11B, the best bitter I'm doing, is overall a flavourful yet refreshing session beer because it's only low in alcohol. Some examples can be more malt balanced, but this should not override the overall bitter impression. So bitterness is the overriding character of the beer. Low to moderate malt aroma, often but not always with a low to medium low caramel quality. That'll come from the crystal malt. Bready biscuit, light toasty, malt complexity is common. Mild to moderate, so they give us ranges for malt flavour and hop flavour, moderate to none, floral and earthy. So because I'm using Tetnanger hops, I don't have any Fuggles or East Kent Goldings or anything like that. But it does say, you know, basically you can use whatever type of hops you like. English fining hops are most traditional, but any hops are fair game. So you know, it does cover a really large amount of styles, doesn't it? Appearance: pale amber, medium copper. If you've been to have a bitter in the UK, you know what it looks like. Medium to moderate high bitterness in the flavour. Moderately low fruity esters. Or moderately low to moderately high fruity esters. Oh, that's annoying me already, this. So everything in it is moderately low to moderately high. And it's such a broad range that really the only thing I'm interested in is hitting the numbers, and we'll see what it tastes like. And I can't figure out how it would taste different and get into a different style of beer. It must be something to do with the yeast and maybe like the more complex recipe, including the crystal malts. It must be something like that, because Vital Start's 25 to 40 IBUs, 8 to 16 SRMs. We've been through all these earlier on. OG, I'm bang in the middle of. FG, I'm at the bottom end of. Alcohol's more or less right. And tons of commercial examples. So really, if you want to brew a catch-all kind of beer, this is a good option to go for. But yeah, for now, let's get back to the brew day and see what's happening. Okay, so we're an hour done now, and I've just put some gubbins on the refractometer there, and if I point it at the light, it says 10:25. So I'm either 3 or 4 points short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it run for another 15 minutes or so. Obviously the low amount of grain is making it hard to extract any sugars off it, but I'll let it run for another 15 minutes or so and see if I can get it to that 10:28. Okay, I've had enough for mashing now. I've been an hour and 15 minutes. It's 10:26, so I'm 2 points shy. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift my bag out and let it drain for 10 minutes, and then we'll get her onto the boil. Okay, so we're coming up to a boil, as you can see, and what I've got here is a sock of 10 grams of Tetnanger. It's been washed. It'll be sterilised by the boil. Oh, fingers crossed. And in it goes. I'll stir it periodically, And then the only other thing to do before I cool it down is to add the wheel flock in about 15 minutes from the end, and then I'll see you at cooling. Okay, so I've done the boil. I'm banged on 1040, which is I think what I was after anyway, 1040, maybe 1041, but you know, 0.001 of the thing's not too bad. So I'm just cooling it down. There's still, I can see a lot of proteins moving around in there, but my sock has worked brilliantly, I think. I've given it a bit of a squeeze to get any last juice out of it. So I'm going to cool it down, and then I'm going to whirlpool it, and then hopefully we'll be able to transfer off the top some really, really nice clean wort and get her fermenting. So we'll see you on the old transfer into the fermenter. Okay, so now we come to the transfer here, and I've got high hopes for this because there's no hot rubbish at the bottom of the mash tun there, so I expect to get pretty much up to the top. So let's see how we get on. You know what? That's lovely and clear. Okay, I'm not doing too badly there. I've just caught a little bit of the nonsense that's at the bottom because there's quite a lot of proteins left still there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour that into a bowl or something like that, and then I'm going to siphon off the top and see how much more we can get. But I've nearly got what I want there. So all I need to do is add in my Caveman GV12 yeast, and we're ready to rock and roll. I'm right happy with that, and hopefully we'll get a decent beer out of it. Couple of weeks, two weeks upstairs in that there brewery, and then get it bottled and get it tasted, and I'm right happy. It's been a good day today, a good day. So that's it for this episode. This is my just a little nod to the old American politics. This is my Twinkle's Caveman, because my beer is a chronicle of life, isn't it? Twinkle's Caveman. And there we go. So, as usual, you can like and you can subscribe, and you can leave a comment if you want. And why don't you go out and be bitter?